So hello everyone, my name is Piyush and the topic that I'm going to present today is human ear and hearing. So let's start. So as you can see in the above diagram that human ear is not limited to the part that is visible from outside, but it is embedded deep inside our skull. So let's start with the human ear. The human ear has basically three parts: the outer ear, the middle ear and the internal ear. The outer ear has further three parts which are pinna, external auditory meatus and eardrum. The middle ear is composed of three bones which are referred to as the ear ossicles. The three bones are the malleus, the incus and the stapes. And then comes the internal ear. Internal ear has further three parts: the cochlea, the semicircular canals and the vestibules. Now let's discuss all these parts one by one. First of all, we will discuss the outer ear. So the outer ear has three parts which are ear pinna, the external auditory meatus and the ear drum. Now the ear pinna is this part of the ear. The ear pinna helps in the collection of sound. Then comes the auditory meatus or the ear canal. Now the ear canal helps in the transmission of sound. It also contains hairs and wax producing glands which are called as the ceruminous glands. Now the wax and the hairs together protect the ear from pathogens and dust particles that enter through it. So the waxy substance that comes out of our ear is of protective function. It protects our ear from the dust particles and the pathogens. The next part is the eardrum. So eardrum is a part that vibrates on receiving the sound vibrations and transmit the vibrations to the middle ear. So this is all about the outer ear. Let's discuss about the middle ear. So the middle ear has three bones: malleus, the incus and the stapes. The malleus is hammer shaped, the incus is anvil shaped and the stapes is stirrup shaped. So as we can clearly see in this diagram, this is the malleus, this is the incus and this is the stapes. Malleus is hammer shaped, incus is anvil shaped and the stapes is stirrup shaped. Stapes is also the smallest bone in the human body. Now, the middle ear also contains a eustachian tube. The eustachian tube opens into the pharynx. The eustachian tube helps to maintain the air pressure in the middle ear. This maintenance of air pressure is very necessary for proper functioning of eardrum. The eardrum was part of the outer ear, and for proper functioning of this, the proper air pressure must be maintained in it. So eustachian tube helps in maintenance of the proper air pressure along its middle ear. Okay, now the stapes transmit the vibration received onto the internal ear. Let's discuss the internal ear. So the internal ear has further three parts: the semicircular canals. Internal ear has three semicircular canals: the anterior semicircular canal, the posterior semicircular canal and the lateral semicircular canal. Then comes the vestibule and then comes the coiled part which we call as the cochlea. So the semicircular canals and the vestibule are concerned with the balancing. The ear along with hearing also has a function of balancing. Ear also helps in balancing, and the parts of the ear that are concerned with balancing are semicircular canals and vestibule, whereas the cochlea, this part, is concerned with the hearing. In this video we will discuss about the hearing and cochlea in detail. So now let's come on to the cochlea. So the cochlea, as we have already seen, it is the coiled part. The cochlea has further two parts: the bony labyrinth and the membranous labyrinth. So as we can clearly see in this diagram, this is the internal ear. This hole is the internal ear. it has two parts, the bony labyrinth and the membranous labyrinth. Now the bony labyrinth is nothing but it is a tunnel in the temporal bone. It is the spiral tunnel in the temporal bone. Okay. Now membranous labyrinth is the membranous structure which is present in the cavity of the bony labyrinth. So this is the membranous labyrinth. Now as we can clearly see, the membranous labyrinth has divided the cavity of the bony labyrinth into three parts. So these three parts are scala vestibuli, scala media and scala tympani. These parts can be easily visible in this cross section of the cochlea. So this is the upper cavity which is called as the scala vestibuli. This is the middle cavity which is called as the scala media. And this is the inner cavity which is called as the scala tympani. Now, as you can see in this diagram, the upper cavity and the lower cavity are filled with the same fluid and it is called as the perilymph, whereas the middle cavity called as scala media is filled with a fluid called as endolymph. The scala media along with the endolymph also contains the auditory organ which is called as the organ of Corti. So here we can already see the organ of Corti. The organ of Corti has hair-like structures which extend to form stereocilia. These are stereocilia of the organ of Corti. These are further embedded in the tympanic membrane. Now let's come on to the mechanism of hearing. So this diagram clearly simplifies the mechanism of hearing. The sound vibrations are collected by the pinna and through the pinna they travel to the external auditory meters, and external auditory meters they are transmitted to the tympanic membrane. So here is the tympanic membrane, and from the tympanic membrane the sound vibrations are transmitted to the middle ear, which consists of three ear ossicles, namely malleus. This is the malleus, this is the incus and this is the stapes. Now the stapes transmit these vibrations onto the internal ear. The internal ear is basically composed of three parts, the scala vestibuli, scala tympani and the scala media. The scala vestibuli contains the perilymph. First of all, these vibrations are transmitted in the perilymph, and from the perilymph these vibrations are transmitted to the endolymph, and due to the vibrations of the endolymph the hair cells in the organ of Corti also vibrates, and the stereocilia of the hair cells are bent due to their rubbing against the tectorial membrane. So due to the rubbing against the tectorial membrane, there is generation of the action potential which is carried by the vestibulocochlear nerve to the auditory complex of the brain where these sounds are interpreted. So this is all about the internal ear and the hearing. Thanks a lot.